and I want to thank my guests for joining me here today. I have with us the Florida Department of Management Services Secretary, Pedro Allende. We've got Florida Digital Services Chief Security Officer, Jeremy Rogers, and of course the Chairman of Dixie County's very own Board of County Commissioners, Jamie Story. I also want to thank the Sheriff for being here and welcoming me, and of course all of our men and women in law enforcement. We appreciate everything they do each and every day to keep us safe. As soon as Governor Ron DeSantis and I were elected in 2018, we set out to make Florida a leader in cyber response and to make it a critical priority of our administration. So when we first took office, we established the Florida Cybersecurity Task Force to assess the state's cybersecurity overall readiness, operations, infrastructure, and we began to invest millions of dollars to make sure that we strengthened our cybersecurity posture. So I had the privilege at that time of serving as the state's task force chair, and we moved diligently to set up a framework in which we could address deficiencies that Florida had in terms of their cybersecurity efforts and find areas of continued improvement. Throughout that 18-month period, we were able to listen to stakeholders, partner, collaborate, discuss needs, and put together a robust list of recommendations to improve our state cybersecurity infrastructure and to mitigate risk. Part of those recommendations were to continue with our best practice of working alongside the private sector to come together with state government and be careful. I will caution you, be careful if you get asked to serve on a task force or an advisory council, because somehow you may end up working for the state, as is the case with our Secretary of Department of Management Services, he started out at the council, and we recruited him to come into state government. So a word of caution for all of you. But I will say that the work of the task force led to the continuation of the advisory council, and now I have the distinction of also serving as the chair of the advisory council. And the council's partnered with the Florida Digital Service in order to help stand up the first ever enterprise-wide Cybersecurity Operations Center, our first CSOC. And so the purpose of this center is to share cybersecurity data, to manage the intelligence that we're receiving in real time, to be able to mitigate risk, to prevent and detect cyber attacks, and ensure in the event of an attack that we are able to quickly assess and respond to those incidents. Before the launch of the center, we had 0 state agencies collaborating and sharing cybersecurity data. They were operating exclusively in a silo. That is something that the governor was very adamant that he wanted to break down those barriers and make sure that our agencies and our state enterprise was working in a cohesive and collaborative fashion. So today, more than 30 of our state entities across the enterprise are integrated into the CSOC, and so we're very proud of that. We've been able to work, again, collaboratively with so many of our state agencies that share information, critical Floridian information. So we're working to instill confidence throughout our state to keep the focus on resilience, innovation, and sharing that information in real time. Adding to that, nearly 200 local governments to the roster that will enhance the level of collaboration, which we know is an integral foundation of Florida cybersecurity initiatives. And so we want to be able to catch those bad actors before they break into your networks, before they gain access to your emails, try to steal important information of your constituents, and perhaps force you to pay a ransom. So those are things that we're very attuned to and want to continue to work with our local partners. Data privacy, as I shared, for Floridians is something extremely important to our administration, and that's why earlier this year we were proud to launch the Florida Local Government Cybersecurity Grant Program. Understanding that budgets and resources are constrained, I'm pleased to share that we have more than 190 awards that have been approved, totaling $30 million to enhance local government cybersecurity. And one of those recipients of that award is right here, Dixie County, Florida's hidden coast. And I can assure you that Dixie County and its municipalities are not hidden to hackers and bad actors, which is why this grant program is so important. The program serves as one of Florida's most bold initiatives in local cybersecurity efforts, and we want to continue to work with our local governments to equip them with industry-leading cybersecurity capabilities. And so the grant program has given local governments, regardless of their size, regardless of their technical expertise, the same ability to protect their networks as some of Florida's largest counties. Governor DeSantis and I are committed to protecting all of Florida as it relates to cyber attacks and incidents. And we know that these attacks can happen at any moment. Our counties must be prepared. Just a few minutes ago, I was talking to the sheriff about things that keep him up at night, and we know that Dixie County's finest do a great job of keeping you safe. Of course, that cyber attack is something that we're always concerned about, and I think that speaks true for every community across the state. With an all-of-Florida approach that we set out to endeavor, we are proud to announce that we had 66 out of Florida's 67 counties apply to the grant program, and currently we have 94% of the awarded local governments are already integrated into our state cybersecurity operations center. So great strides that we've made, and we're going to continue to make, and we're going to continue to invest. And the governor has invested historic funding in cybersecurity initiatives. But that doesn't mean that we're going to take our foot off the gas. We understand that this really requires a continuous effort and a continuous focus. So this year's Framework for Freedom budget that was approved and signed includes $40 million for the Florida Digital Team to administer a similar grant program into this fiscal year. So in addition to an increase in the total amount of the program, we expect to have broader eligibility requirements that will allow perhaps entities like school boards and or water management districts to apply, and that's something that the department will be working through in the next couple of weeks and months. But by continuing to invest and to collaborate with cybersecurity at the local level, we're hardening networks and protecting critical infrastructure from Key West to Pensacola. So at this time, I'd like for our Department of Management Services Secretary to say a few words, and appreciate, again, you all being here.
Thank you, Madam Governor. It's great to be here with you today and with you all as well. My name is Pedro Allende. I'm Secretary of Management Services at the state. Most people don't know much about DMS. They think it's about paper clips and pencils and HR and state buildings. And that's great. I'm really happy with that. Doesn't mean we're any less hard at work for Floridians. It just means that we don't have the unneeded attention, and that's great. That has been changing a little bit over the last few years, particularly with the digital service and the work of the council and the task force. When I meet with counterparts from other states, the question isn't like, what's up in Florida? It's, how are you doing? What are you doing? How are you leading in cyber? Like the narrative has changed significantly over the past few years. Cybersecurity is not easy. It's tough. It's a team sport. But we are succeeding, and that's in large part through the leadership of Governor DeSantis and Lieutenant Governor Nuñez. They kind of hold us accountable. They expect the very best from our teams. They expect us to protect Floridians and their data. And quite frankly, they expect results, not just words and reports. And they expect Florida to lead the nation in cybersecurity and technology. And that's what we're working towards. Before I came to state government, I was Deputy Assistant Secretary at Homeland Security. A lot of fun, also very terrifying to see the threats that we face each day at our infrastructure and threats on business and the like. And so that also gave me a firsthand experience and view of how important it is to have that collaboration and work with your partners. It's why we started integrating all state agencies into the Security Operations Center, sharing intelligence. Because what happens at the Agency for Healthcare Administration could be happening down the street at Department of Bureau of Health, for example. And having that information sharing lets you solve problems across the enterprise. And so, now that we've brought agencies together, the next step was bringing local partners and local governments. And so we built something that I don't really think exists anywhere else, which is a unified front as a team that's going to bring coordination in a much different level. You can't really expect a group to work as a team during an incident if they've never met each other, if they don't have those relationships. And that's part of what we're going to be building here, is that trust, so that when you're in a tough spot, Jeremy, and that he's a known commodity that isn't a stranger coming to help, but someone that you've worked with in the past. And so much of that credit goes to the Florida Digital Service team for their work. This is a groundbreaking initiative. It's tough to build something like this from the ground up. A lot of late nights, early mornings, but the belief in that shared mission has driven that team to burn that midnight oil to get this done and across the finish line. And so, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, the task force and the council are critical partnerships that pave the way for our success as a state under her leadership. Both initiatives have brought together public and private sector experts from energy, law enforcement, healthcare, other areas, to develop recommendations that have been our roadmap. And from a security standpoint, we're taking those learnings and we're really leaning in and creating common sense solutions that are simple to very tough problems. One example, Florida's the Sunshine State, as you guys know. We have great beach weather year-round. We also have really transparent government. And so in cybersecurity, that transparency means Chinese, Russian actors, a kid with a lot of time on his hands can make a public records request and find out what your networks look like. And that's a roadmap. Your response plan, network blueprints, vulnerability list, all public record. And so last year, Governor DeSantis signed a law, which was actually first suggested by a local government employee, to close that gap and create a public records exemption for cybersecurity materials so that you're not giving away the keys of the kingdom on a public records request. And so I couldn't be prouder of what we're doing in Florida, what DMS and the Florida Digital Service have accomplished under the governor's and lieutenant governor's leadership. It's been a great ride thus far. We've accomplished a lot, but we're really just getting started, I would say. So, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And he's right. We are just getting started, and we have a continuous commitment to making sure that we are meeting the needs with an all-of-state approach. And I know that your next speaker, you're going to really enjoy hearing what they're doing at the digital service. Another issue that we've really been focusing on is workforce training, making sure that there is a tremendous skills gap need, not just in Florida, but globally, people that are going to enter into the cybersecurity field. So we're making significant investments on the education piece as well. So at this time, I'd like to ask Jeremy Rogers, our state CISO, to come up and say a few words.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Governor. Great to be here in Dixie County. Just as Secretary Allende's time at Homeland Security helped shape his view on the importance of collaboration, I got an up-close look at cybersecurity at the local level while serving as the Deputy Mayor of Boca Raton. I can't say the briefings were as scary as they might be at the federal level, but speaking to a lot of my colleagues across the state, even across the nation, it's sobering to see how unprepared cities, counties, and others can be for cybersecurity incidents. And that's why I'm so excited to be here to help. Many didn't have their data backed up, they don't have solutions in place to prevent an attack or plan to respond to a breach. As we stand here, it's truly a new day for cybersecurity in Florida, not just locally, but across the whole state of Florida. As Lieutenant Governor and Secretary Allende mentioned, trust and cooperation are key tenets for cybersecurity. Before these awards, we've toured the state and talked about what was coming, right? And while doing that, Lieutenant Governor's made a few commitments to our local partners, from the application process to implementation plans. Simplicity, flexibility, and a promise to never compromise on customer service would be on our guiding principles. Any local entity, regardless of budget, staffing, existing capabilities, should be able to implement these solutions with support from the State Cybersecurity Operations Center. We can't just send over some solutions and say, do your best with it. We got to be there to help. And the incident response team at the Florida Digital Service, my team, will only collect telemetry, that's security data and logs, will only enter an environment when invited to help out with an incident, and we'll be out of there when that incident's closed. So we're not looking to be big brother here, we're looking to build a collaborative platform and only collect what we need to. We've upheld that commitment, and the results bear that out. As an anecdote, my Deputy CISO, Warren Sponholz, was at a Florida local technology conference just last week, and he talked to a lot of the locals who have been part of this program, and they're just overwhelmed with the support, right? As a former local government official, we're always talking about home rule, and you have these mandates. This is an unfunded mandate. This is an offer to help and an offer to collaborate. So it's been really exciting to see the response. It's been overwhelming. Having these open lines of communication, it's critical in building out these relationships. Lieutenant Governor spoke to the program's impact, and I'll share the practical applications for a couple of the solutions that we're offering. The Security Operations Platform, it's going to ingest all the security logs that we receive from the other tools and parts of the program, consolidate that information, and look for anything that may be out of place. And where's that little smoke? Where's the little smoke in one spot so we'd catch a fire possibly in a bigger spot? That facilitates rapid response, and it's the reason that we could go home, the cities could go home, the counties could go home, the sheriffs could go home, and know that you have an Overwatch, a security operations system that's looking at your logs while we're trying to spend some needed off time with our families. And if something happens, it alerts you, it alerts us, and we jump into action. One of the other solutions is asset discovery. It tells our partners what devices are connected to their networks and which ones might pose a risk. Surprisingly enough, so many organizations don't even know what's on their network. So this is especially important in the age of the Internet of Things, or IoT, when everything from thermostats to an employee's Nintendo Switch that they might be playing at lunch can be on the same network environment that's, say, serving your payroll systems, people's social security information, or maybe some CGIS data. So in conclusion, I'll wrap things up with a few very important thank yous. Thank you to Governor DeSantis for the sponsorship for this program and what we have as a state for this. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Nuñez, for your support and leadership in policy and appropriations and on the Cybersecurity Advisory Council. I want to take a moment to brag about you. I get to speak to my colleagues as I'm the lead cybersecurity official for Florida, and I talk to a bunch of the different states. No state has a governor, and no state has a lieutenant governor who rolls up their sleeves, dives into the policy and where we're going. And Lieutenant Governor, you mentioned we also have Secretary Allende, who he is, let's just say he brings a lot of cybersecurity know-how to the table, and we're very thankful for the support there. So thank you to you both for what we're able to do. It makes my job so much more easier and so much more effective. Thank you to our local partners most of all, trusting us when we said that we would respect your privacy and do things differently from the other iterations of state technology, giving us valuable feedback and suggestions for improving and making the process work better. I know it was a tight timeline. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to Dixie County today for hosting us, proving that this model is scalable and replicable when the launch of the next grant program comes out. In Navy Reserve, the motto is ready now, anytime, anywhere. In cyber, we have to do the same thing. So we're jumping headfirst into this cybersecurity community. We're doing it together, and we're really excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate the passion with which you do your job each and every day. And as he assured Dixie County and all of Florida's counties, this is not a case, as Reagan once said, the most terrifying phrase in all of government is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. We promise you we are here to help, but we won't stay longer than requested, and we understand the importance of maintaining control over your information. So lastly, I'd like to welcome your very own Commissioner Jamie Story, Chairman of the Dixie County Board of Commissioners, and I do want to thank you for hosting us and for being a great partner, because it does take all of our local partners to join us in this endeavor if we're truly to be successful. So please say a few words. Thank you.
On behalf of the Dixie County and the board, I want to personally thank you and your staff for all the dedication, hard work, and the many hours that you put in. Because without you and your staff, small counties like Dixie, we'd be left behind. And we can't thank you enough for that. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you again for all of you for being here, and of course, Chairman, those are kind words, and we're happy to be a good partner, and we will never leave Dixie County or any of our counties behind, which is why it was so important for us to really push all of our counties to apply. So we're confident that next year we'll get all 67. Maybe stay tuned and we'll have more on that. But our local partners truly are the foundation for making sure that we are leading the nation's most resilient statewide cybersecurity community. And so if you have questions, or if you want to stay abreast of the information that's coming, you can email at cybersecuritygrants@digital.fl.gov. Again, that's cybersecuritygrants, all one word, @digital.fl.gov. You can stay up to date on what's going on with the upcoming initiatives. But we look forward to perhaps being back and talking about round 2. And again, thank you all for allowing us to come and talk about an issue that's so important to our state. Thank you.